just focus on kids advertising. So, we're a very general agency, so we could have a couple brands in our agency that focused on kids, but we don't really have that many.
Just out of curiosity, like, what do you mostly do here? Like, what kind of
brands?
What kind of advertising?
There's a lot. Weight Watchers,
Kohl's,
General Mills,
Kohl's, Verizon,
and General Mills includes Hamburger Helper, Nature Valley, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Betty Crocker.
And a lot of those, a lot of the kids,
Avis.
it seems like a lot of the kids brands that we have, though, they're kind of filtered to the parents, so it's more about getting to the mom than getting to the
There's
kids.
a lot of regulations for kids.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys know that.
Yeah.
That's what makes it a big difference.
That's why, like, the online gaming is, like, because, on kids' channels, like Noggin or whatever, you can't put that many commercials on it, right? So, like, on the internet, you could probably put a lot more, and it, like, gets to them a lot more easily.
Noggin, right? Well, it's actually Nick Jr. now, I know, because I have two daughters. I watch it. I can tell you the whole lineup. Sad, I know. But, so you're right, there's absolutely no advertising on Nick Jr., but if you go to the website, they have extensions of all these shows where you can, it's all kind of gamings, record your voice with the Fresh Beat Band or do a scavenger hunt with, Blue's Clues. And they have this whole, dedicated space to these shows where you're interacting, and that's a really good example of how they're reaching kids, not using their TV.
Yeah, because, like, relating to that, what's the most successful way of, like, advertisements are reaching out to young children, and how can they, like, tell the difference between the television and, like, a colorful ad?
Like, if they're
really young children.
I don't know. I've never worked on kids advertising, so I really don't know. I know the only story that...
Yeah.
No, we read, like, an article or something. It said that, like, young kids, if they're watching, if it's not Noggin, if it's, like, a regular channel, if they're watching a show and then a commercial comes on, they might not know the difference between the commercial and the show, so they might think that it's, like, still in the show that they're watching and they're interested in. So it, like, affects them differently because they think it's, like, real.
Right.
Not that shows are real, but...
That's where all the regulation comes in.
Right.
With kids. That's what... it's kind of like, I guess, the pharma category, too. There's a lot of debate around what you can say to kids. And a lot of companies have chosen to have a philosophy for their company that they won't advertise to kids at a certain age. So they won't actually place their ads on programs that typically draw a crowd of kids under a certain age. But, you're right. They probably can't tell the difference between the television show and the actual ad.
Right.
So,
I would say that most advertisers are going through the influencers, the mothers or the teachers or whoever it is, the doctors that have influence. That's how they're trying to reach these kids.
And, the only other kid thing I ever heard was, one time I heard that because, like, your toothpaste, but basically you use the same toothpaste like your entire life for the most part, or that's like one of the things that they learn.
Yeah.
So apparently I can't remember if it was Colgate or Crest, one way that they got it was since they knew they had to get people when they were kids, they actually would they would make these like packs of like just stuff like toothpaste and all these things that you need for like camps, for like camps for kids. So they would get these official bags that the camps wouldn't really have to pay for, and they would have the toothpaste. So that's your first exposure to the toothpaste. You just keep using it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I ever know about kids advertising.
Yeah. There's a lot of brands that target teens though. Like I used to work on a kid brand, but we spoke mostly to teens. Like it was like 13 to 17. There's not a lot of brands that will go below that because of the controversy. So,
are there any like specific ways that you target teenagers?
Yeah.
Could you?
Like Popsicle, for example. I worked on that brand. Burger King Kids is actually technically really teens. So yeah, there are brands that are more like kind of teen focused, but even those brands have been going more towards influencers because of those reasons.
Yeah. And this is different because it's not such like a packaged brand, but I used to work on Above the Influence brand, and that's targeting teens not to do drugs, not to smoke weed, it's like that kind of stuff. So that's like a different take on it, but that's like strictly very about the teenager, but also targeting influencers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We talked about the Nikon thing before. Does making the advertisement interactive, so like a game or an activity, make it more successful?
Definitely. If you can find a way to engage with consumers beyond just drink my drink or buy my product,
Right.
if you're connecting with them, you're providing some other kind of value to them, that's what differentiates one brand from another. So think of if Pepsi's giving you something beyond just the drink itself. Maybe they're giving you, I don't know what they give you, but it was some other cool thing that's valued and you can't get anywhere else. Now you're more wedded to that brand,
Right.
because the ultimate goal is to get a relationship with you beyond just that product.
Right. Like the Kraft noodle. You guys heard of the Kraft noodle?
Mm-hmm,
It's like this statue that is there like trucking around the country, and every family is like
Yeah.
going on vacation and taking a picture with the giant noodle, and it's like, hey, Kentucky, hey, Wisconsin, with the giant noodle. It's brilliant. They have their new logo everywhere, and they have all these people who are posting these pictures with the giant noodle on Facebook. But that's an example of something it's not intrusive. People actually want to do it. It's kind of funny, and they're, without even knowing it, they're creating ads for Kraft without even realizing it. But they don't mind because they're getting something out of it.
Yeah.
So that is kind of, like you said, the holy grail. I mean, it's what advertisers really want to go for.
And it could be like online, it could be like offline, like Snapple caps. People love the little facts underneath it. It's not something you really like spread. I mean, you might post it on Facebook if it's really interesting. I mean, it's just something fun, And it's like with the Old Spice guy, like that was just people just kind of ran with it. They kind of picked up and they ran with it, and then they made that official thing where he could tweet them, and then he would make like a video. And, like that was pretty funny. People shared that a lot. I mean, if you could ever just become part of, just naturally become a part of like the conversation, that's
And
like
consumers
the holy
like
grail.
that too. If it's a higher end brand, something that makes you feel closer to that culture that you can't necessarily live every day, that's also in a different way interacting with the brand. Maybe they're not like giving you great games all the time, but it's still letting you get to that culture that you won't usually experience every day.
And that is what is making our job so much harder than what it used to be. Because now there's so many different messages and so many different places people can see ads, and people are so jaded and they don't want to see commercials that's what these guys do, is they sit there and try to figure out how are we going to get consumers to actually want to interact with the brand in a way that isn't going to be annoying to them, isn't going to be, it's going to be useful for them or fun for them, something. So it's a tough job.
Like, sometimes it's really simple. Like the one that's been done
Yeah, that's
forever is like the McDonald's Monopoly game thing. Like people love playing that.
Gaming.
Like,
There you go.
It's part of the
there's
gaming thing, right?
True.
Gaming in action for how many years?
Yeah.
Before it became gaming.
Before it was, yeah, right.